me. So all this stuff turns me on, basically, or bewitches me, and again, that's an old cliche of women as either, and you could say this is sexist, that they sort of put men under a spell like witches. So, you can see some sexism in this. Again, this is several hundred years old. But so do no more turn me on or more possess me or more bewitch me than when art is too precise in every part. So there we kind of get like the message. He finally gives us sort of the message here at the end that he's turned on by carelessness more than he's turned on by when things are just right. And he does something else at the end. He brings in a word that makes this stuff even mean more things at once. So now this art can refer to her dress, the art of dressing. It can refer to her personality, the art of her, her character and her self-presentation. And art suggests poetry. So at the very end, can you see where I'm writing? See, notice, by the way, I'm trying to model like how I walk through this and I make notes, and I'm suggesting by doing that this is sort of thing you want to do when you work on poems, is you take your time and you print up the poem and you mess around with it. Because now I've got all my ideas out here. So, okay, so now I've walked through it, and now if I go back, I can work on each of these. So, latent and manifest. Well, clearly we could say that the manifest meaning of the poem is about the clothes she wears, but it's really hard to unpack the latent and that manifest from the latent meaning, because even in some of the words that he uses, we see the other meaning, like civility and wave and careless. These all have to do with people, enthralls. So we know really from almost the get-go that it's not just about clothes. But if we really want to get it, we want to pay attention to that level, and see that this is a description of her clothes. This is a very precise description of her clothes. Hold on. Let me see if I can get it come back up. Okay, so it's still going. Sorry. So sometimes that thing turns off on me, and I just hope it's still running. Okay, so latent and manifest. Manifest, it's about clothes, clothes. Latent, it's about at least two things, right? It's about her personality. It could be, actually say several things. It could be about her sexuality, and it could even be about art. And we'll come back to that in a minute, I think. Okay, interpretation, well, we're doing that. So let's go on to condensation. I think we've seen a lot of condensation in here. This is when one thing means more than one thing at the same time. So let's just take one example. I think we could find a bunch. Erring. Erring means two things at the same time, at least two things. It means that the lace is moving around, is like waving. It's not going in one direction. And it means that it refers to her personality that may not always be on the straight and narrow. She may be a little loose. She may be a little easy. She may be a little wild and fun and crazy, stuff like that. So behind this otherwise fairly, demure exterior or what have you. So with erring, we get some condensation. Displacement means when you're talking about one thing, but you move it over and talk about something else. And we see this all over the place as well. I'm going to suggest that we see the big displacement here. We discover it at the end with art. Again, I think we see it a lot. But this poem as a whole appears to be about, first, her clothing, second, her personality. But when we get to the end, it suggests that all that about her clothing and her personality is really a way for the writer to talk about art and what the role of art is. So we could say, let me see if I need to stop it here. Where are we at? 11. Okay, we're doing okay. So we could say that that this whole poem that is apparently about clothing and about a girl is really about the nature of art. That art is better when it's not too precise. So we could say the whole subject has been displaced. It's been moved off to the side, and it appears we're talking about X and Y when we're really on another level talking about Z. We're talking about art. So that would be an example of displacement, art. Imagery, well, imagery is all over the place, right? And so again, we have a lot of literal imagery about her dress. She's got a lawn, that's some kind of piece of cloth. She's got a lace. She's got a petticoat. She's got a shoestring. We know what color, the crimson, and of course that crimson may be suggestive as well. So that's a deep red. Stomacher is usually kind of considered a sexy color, right? Red. And we have other images like kindle suggests fire. Tempest suggests a storm. So the thing is just jam-packed with imagery. And the imagery works on both levels, right? It both gives us a really rich, vivid description of her clothing at the same time that it provides us with all these little hints about her character and ultimately about art. And just to finish this, and I think I'll be done before my 15 minutes is up. Let me see how I'm doing. Come on. Yeah, I think I can hurry and get this done. Is that then once you see that he's really talking about art, if you look over the poem again, you discover that it sort of illustrates poetically his point. Notice that the last two lines are very correct. Like they sound very, do more bewitch me than when art is too precise in every part. So and I could go into this is like iambic tetrameter or whatever, but here it's da 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 da. It's very precise and the rhymes are perfect. If you look up other places, you'll see that he messes around with that. He breaks it up. So for example, if we look, well, like here, look at this one. A lawn about the shoulders thrown into a fine distraction. Into a fine distraction. Like, not only did his mind get thrown into distraction, but he got so distracted that he couldn't even finish the line. He needs to have two more syllables here. And he has what we call a run-on line here. There's another word for that I'm not thinking of, where you can't really finish this without hurrying. And it's like his distracted mind. So this is a little messed up. So it's a little messy. So even the way he writes the poem is a little messy. Or there and stomacher. That's not the most perfect rhyme. Likewise, thereby and confusedly, aren't the most perfect rhyme. So what he does, and you could go into a lot more detail, is he shows with the poem itself how it's structured and how it rhymes and its rhythm, that it's not perfect. It's a little messier. And by being a little